Hey gang, welcome to the syllabus portion of the modules. Just want to walk through the syllabus and make sure we just highlight some of the important pieces. I really want you to go through the syllabus on your own as well, but we should have kind of a walkthrough as far as that goes. So this is Gen Chem 31 at UVM, right? This is the first part of the summer semester. My name's Eric Ruggles. We are total virtual, so we're looking at an office that's really in the ethereal. Great way to get a hold of me is by email, which we see there as well. I have that on quite a lot. And then our office hours is really going to be kind of this virtual class time. So that's where we're going to get a lot of questions answered and work actually done. And that's Monday through Thursday, 8 to 11 a.m. and that's Eastern Standard Time. So that's our virtual class time. Really, kind of the same thing. This idea of office hours and virtual class time. Going through the points here at the textbook, there's three different options of buying the textbook. There's, first off, what are we using? Well, we're using Tro's Chemistry, Structure and Properties. Right there is the full ISBN number, and there's really three ways to do it. First is going online, going to the Pearson website. I think it's roughly like $300 for the text and mastering. We do need both of them. So that's not the best option. But if you like the actual full textbook, that's purchased there. At the UVM bookstore, we have basically a custom package where you have all the necessary chapter and work and material for not only General Chemistry 31, but also General Chemistry 32. So the difference between 1 and 2 is that 2 is edited to a certain degree, getting rid of chapters that we're actually not going to be discussing during our class time. And then the third would be just digital access. That's definitely the cheapest. And you need to have with that, the e-text as well as mastering. So I think that's, the important part that we need to take into account here is that we need a text, and we also need to have this idea of mastering chemistry online access. Right, so we need to have both of those in going forward. As far as the most bang for your buck, the UVM bookstore, you're getting a textbook, solutions manual, and mastering chemistry. To be honest, I also provide the solution manual on Blackboard, so for free. So that's already offered to you. So it's really up to you what you prefer. If you prefer, more the textile version, maybe the UVM bookstore is a better idea. If you're, really into e-text and online and everything like that, I would go with the digital access, with the e-text and mastering through Pearson. But that's the main important part. We need both of those things, the text and mastering chemistry. So lectures. As far as video lectures, which is how I'm going to approach this, so the course is somewhat asynchronous and synchronous, meaning that I'm going to give you assignments before our actual class time. So, and these assignments, these modules, will have video content as far as lecture content, talking about concepts and talking about sample calculations and problem solving. And that I want you to do on your time before our actual class, before our actual virtual class. So the lectures are all going to be on video, asynchronous. I will be breaking them up into, 50-minute or so, sometimes smaller, sometimes a little bit bigger sections, so that you don't have to sit down straight for 3 hours. But basically, each assignment will be roughly a 3-hour lecture, which would be normal in terms of in-class setting in a normal summer scenario. But I'm wanting you to do that the day before our actual class. So the assignments are broken down in that way. Sorry, we talked about lecture. And we talked about assignments. Or we're getting into assignments. So these assignments are broken down to modules, and each module basically contains the videos, the lecture videos, as I was just talking about, as well as then homework, as well as help resources. So there's more to it than just that within the assignment, as far as, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. But yeah, that's most of it. Again, these will be assigned the day prior, and what I want you to do is, at least watch all the videos. And with each video, there's a homework, and do your best to do as many of those homework problems as you can. If you run into difficulty, that is okay, because that's what we'll handle in our virtual class time. So I need you as the student to be attempting these problems and reading these questions, watching these videos the day before our virtual class, and then our virtual class can be dedicated to answering those questions and then going further. And so virtual class would just be, questions about concepts, lectures, specific problems, etc. So that's the idea of assignments and how it really ties into the virtual class time. So I'm giving you an assignment the day before. I'm wanting you to do that, right, and do as much as you can, right? And then the next day at 8 a.m. we sit down and we have our virtual class, which is pretty unstructured. It's really just, okay, if you have questions, come on in. Let's talk about them. And we're going to do this through Teams. As far as our virtual class time. Please try to be prompt. I don't want to be repetitive for students that have already been there in the meeting, and you're showing up late and asking questions that all have already been addressed. So if you have questions, try to be punctual, and the most bang you're going to get here is if you've really attempted the questions, attempted the problems, and have questions, and hopefully we can break down that pretty easily as the semester goes on. There's extra practice as far as old exams that I have. Again, I always like to highlight. This is the big deal. The more of the homework problems you can do, the better off you're actually going to be. And when I say do, I mean not do and look at the solution manual and say, oh, I didn't get it right, but I understand. I mean, you have to do them on your own. You have to be able to get to that point of doing them on your own. So there's definitely practice involved with the homework problems, a good work ethic. But that's really the meat and potatoes, or seitan and broccoli of this course. The more of those you can do on your own, the more confident you will get, and the more of a understanding you'll have with the course, better success with the course. Exams are every Friday, and I'm just going to say 9 to 12. To be honest, I'm going to have a window of opportunity to take the exam. The exams are on mastering chemistry. So we want to make sure that we are good with that platform. rolling forward. So I would highly advise, homework and things of that you're practicing on mastering chemistry, so you know it. And it'll be a timed environment, meaning like when you start, you'll have 3 hours to finish. And so I'll open up a window of opportunity on Friday from the early morning to probably mid-afternoon, to allow you to decide when you want to actually start. And that's an exam every Friday, so that means we have 3 exams, and then we have the final. This is a very short, in-depth course, just 1 month. With the lab's still kind of developing, but we already have a virtual lab set up, going through lab flow. Christine Cardillo is your lab director. She's a good person to contact if you have questions regarding the lab. And you will have a separate Blackboard site for the lab as well. So I don't think that that's up and running yet, but that'll be coming very, very, very soon. So we'll be notifying you about the lab flow, which is what we're going to be talking about, in terms of the lab virtual setup is concerned. But on that Blackboard site, it's where you'll find a lot of other things. You'll find the experiments, helpful documents. You'll find discussion boards from your TA, logistics, etc. So there's more information there once those are actually up and running. So you do have TAs, teaching assistants, and they are going to have office hours as well to help out as a virtual nature. And we all have discussion boards as far as a good way to just post questions and get answers. Blackboard is where you also hand in things such as your pre-lab reports, your lab reports, things of that nature. Again, more information through the lab site. Lab manual is going to be on LabFlow, so don't worry about that. Lab notebook, get a notebook. It's not that big a deal. We recommend carbonless copy notebooks, but that's in the lab. That's actually on campus, So whatever works, just something for you to take notes and be able to write up reports and is organized for your sanity. Prior to start of lab, just purchase that notebook. I apologize. This is actually a mistake that I'll correct in the syllabus here. While I think you should, review Blackboard, there is no need to take this safety presentation or safety quiz since everything is is virtual these days. And then probably the biggest one of the bunch is attendance and lab reports. So the way the labs are going to work is that on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you're going to have a lab that's going to open up on Blackboard. And there's going to be pre-lab questions that are associated with that lab. So the idea is that you would, read the experimental. There's some videos, demonstrations helping you out with some of the equipment concepts that are being used and tested. And with that, it comes pre-lab questions to make sure that you've actually, looked at the experiment and done the preliminary work. It's like a pre-lab quiz, I guess you could say. So once a lab opens up, let's say on Monday, well, then you have a pre-lab quiz that you need to hand in on that Monday. Each lab has a lab report, which comes, after the experiment, right? After you've done the virtual lab, and then after you've written up a report, which includes some post-lab questions. So that will then be up to you to hand in before the Sunday that follows. So we're allowing lab reports to be handed in on the Sunday of the week. So lab 1 on Monday, lab 2 on Tuesday, lab 3 on Wednesday could all be handed in on Sunday. But you need to do the pre-labs for those on those specific days. You have to check in. And really the most important piece here is that you got to hand in everything. If you miss 3 lab reports, that's an F. And that's not enough for the lab, that's an F for the course. We need you to have so much experiential learning with this course, and that's where we've set the boundary. So we're giving you some flexibility to hand in the lab reports. They still have to be handed in every Sunday, but you still have to be on pace with the actual lab class time. I'm sure your TAs, as well as Christine, our lab director, will help and expand on that notion once the Blackboard websites for the lab open up. Course grade, I kind of just throw it out there. This is the boundaries. So you're looking for an A+, you got to get above a 96, roughly. And then if you don't want to fail, you want to get above a 53. So that's the idea there. They're all distributed out. There's basically 750 points for the lecture, and that's split up into exams and the final. So we have 525 points for the 3 mid-semester exams, or 175 per, and then 225 for the final. What I do allow is a grade replacement. So, basically it's saying if one of the mid-semester exams is your lowest grade, then the final can basically count as 2 units. Because I should have started with the... If your final is the lowest grade, it only counts as 1 unit. Meaning, so it's saying that if your final is higher than your lowest mid-semester, the final will replace it. So, and that's kind of exemplified in these 2 examples. For example 1, we have a student that, got 85%, 45%, 78%, and then a 75%. So the idea here is that, okay, exam 2 was a low ball, maybe the student was sick or what have you, but the final is higher. So the final actually counts twice, right? And so what I've counted is actually the 85, the 75, the 78, and the 75. So I put that within the grade book. So if there is a low ball exam, you're not dead in the water yet, right? The final can help you out at the end of the term. Example 2, student was just pretty consistent, 70, 78, 76, 68. The final is the lowest of the bunch, so count it remains the same. So we have no replacement. Well, here final is higher than exam 2, and so now we can replace. So that's what I throw in terms of the gradebook, but there's 750 points dedicated to exams, dedicated to the lecture. The lab has 250 points, 10 lab experiments. Each lab is worth 25 points, 10 points for pre-lab and 15 points for post and lab report. And then so you just basically add everything up and then see where you fall as far as the grade ranges that we had up above earlier. And there will be some extra credit, and so really to summarize, you're really just adding up all the exams and dividing by 1,000, right? The 3 mid-semester, the final, the lab, the extra credit that we'll get to. Lastly, here with the scheduling and just grades, academic integrity, basically don't cheat, okay? Take ownership of your education, be ethical, and just really do your best. Here we have the tentative lecture schedule. So this is how I'm hoping it flows. It doesn't necessarily have to flow this way. We might have, some things, trailing as far as, maybe we get a little bit behind, but that's not going to be a big deal. And so what I have here is basically every day and what we will be, talking about in that particular day. So a lot to talk about the first day, but, to be honest, there's not as much there as it looks in terms of chapter 1, to be honest. And we're already talking about the syllabus here. But every day I tell you, what module or chapter we're going to be covering. I give you learning objectives as well as homework problems. So everything on the right side is what is being assigned throughout the semester. You can find it here on the syllabus, but it'll also be within the module assignments as well. And it'll be broken down a little bit, maybe easier in the module assignments. But here's a complete list. And so we have our 4 days of class, and then we have our exam. Notice it's 2 stars at exam 1, right? It really just depends on the progress where we're at. And so we'll discuss that when the times get closer. So this is just rolling through, from exam 1 to exam 2, what we're covering, all the homework problems that are assigned, as well as in the module and, really the learning objectives for each one of those particular areas. And then finally, we have the final exam, which will be cumulative. The lab schedule is, again, like I was saying, Monday through Wednesday. So, again, don't need to worry about the safety presentation or safety quiz. But on May 18th, we're checking in with the lab and we're starting with experiment 1. And so here we have all the experiments going down through, which relates to lab flow. And then I try to put a lecture correlation underneath of that to help with, how this lab is coordinating with the lecture material that we discuss. And that goes throughout the semester till roughly around June 10th, which, June 9th would be really the last day of lab, to be honest. And then lastly, access accommodations. If you have access, please contact me as soon as possible. Also, religious holidays. I don't keep up on all the religious holidays, so if there's an issue, you just need to let me know. As well as illnesses, please have the correct verification process and whatnot. But the course is very fast, so hopefully we all stay very, very healthy. Well, that's the syllabus. Somewhat of a quick rundown. If you have questions, you can always talk about this in our first class, or hit the discussion boards or email. Chat with you soon.